Mr. Transformers 96 here with another video, and I'm going to be talking about some newly shown Transformers Studio Series figures. This is kind of just an update because I did talk about these before when they were first shown at the convention just a few days ago. However, at that moment we only had the convention photos and the few convention photos that we actually had. Now we have the official images, really good high definition images, and therefore I wanted to talk about them as we get a much better look. So starting off with the World War II Bumblebee, this is the one that I find the most interesting of the assortment. He does look quite nice. As you can see in this photo, it really looks like Bumblebee's head sculpt. That's something that I think it looks a lot more like Bumblebee in this image than it did when it was on the convention floor. But I think that's kind of nice because the rest of the figure, you know, the rest of the design of the robot, it's not necessarily Bumblebee-like. You know, it's got, you know, just humanistic proportions, but overall it could be kind of anybody. But that head sculpt really cements it as Bumblebee, which is nice. He does have the weapon, which he does use during that fight, but then he also has the hammer. The hammer I don't believe that he uses in that quick scene at all. I think that's more of just like an accessory for for Bumblebee figures in general, just because he uses it in the Last Night, just in general in that movie. So I think it's more of just an accessory to go with maybe a different Bumblebee figure, but they kind of are just packaging it here with this one. But overall, I do think that the figure does look quite nice. He does have quite a big backpack though, that's the only issue, but it's not a very uncommon one. However, you know, I'd like to see like a side angle to really get a good look at the extent of that backpack. It does seem to go down quite far, but at the top towards the shoulders, it looks pretty good. It just adds to the bulk. But overall, I think that looks like a nice figure, and it's one that I didn't expect to get, so I am very happy about it. Here's his vehicle mode. I think the vehicle mode looks awesome. It looks really compact, and it just looks really solid. The only, you know, issue to it is this little piece right here that it comes out the front. That's the only thing that's off, but the rest of it looks really spot on, which I like. Then we have Barricade, of course getting another Barricade figure. However, this one does seem to be probably the most perfect that we're going to get. And then we can also see him with the weapon on, which is very cool, so I am happy about that. The weapon itself does look very nice. I do like the kind of spinning you know, knife effect to it. I think that does look very cool. His hands look really good. The only thing is here, like, his hands look like a nice silver, like it matches the rest of the figure, while on the convention floor the hands were a very dull gray. So I'll be interested to see what the final product actually looks like. I would imagine that the floor one is going to be the more accurate one, to be quite honest, because you see them you know, cut corners on paint when it comes to the actual production. However, the prototype images usually have pretty good paint. But overall, he looks really nice. I like the way that the torso seems to transform. He seems to have more length to his legs as opposed to like the Dark of the Moon version, and I do like the head sculpt quite a bit. It's certainly much larger in proportion to the body than some of the other figures for Barricade, so I'm actually very excited for that Barricade figure. His vehicle mode looks quite nice. Then we have a Sideswipe. Sideswipe looks good. I do think that this is probably, at least some of it is just redone from you know, well, it's hard to say. Like, I really don't know how much of this, if it's a completely new sculpt or if it is just kind of like a redeco of the Dark of the Moon one. Because some parts look very much like the Dark of the Moon one, and then some parts don't. Like the arm, it looks like the hand's flipping out and then holding that knife bit, and that was not the case with the Dark of the Moon one. And then the feet look a little different. The legs look the same, but the feet look a little different. So it's really hard to say, to be quite honest. But overall, I do think it looks very nice. One of the best things about it is the paint, because the Dark of the Moon one, of course, had a very dull gray and did not have a nice silver, but this does look like it has a nice silver. However, it's not our first Sideswipe with good silver. There's been many other Sideswipes, particularly from the Revenge of the Fallen line, that had great silver and everything. So I don't know if it's super necessary, but I do think it is nice. Like, if you started collecting after Revenge of the Fallen, this would be a really necessary one, but if you have the Revenge of the Fallen Sideswipe, that one looks just as good as this, to be honest. The only difference is in vehicle mode, this one obviously is has the top off, so that's kind of the one difference there. And then we have what they're calling Crowbar, or sorry, what they're calling Crankcase. This is obviously just a repaint of Crowbar, and they're doing him in a design that more fits his look in Dark of the Moon, but since they just came out with a Crowbar figure, they can't really call this one Crowbar, I assume. So it's kind of interesting what they're doing with this then. They're just kind of taking the name of the other Dread and giving it to him just so that they can release it, and it doesn't seem weird. So it's very odd, but you know, it definitely is more, it's closer to the look of him in the actual film. The issue is they didn't do a good mix of silver and black. You need, like, they just have silver in top section of the torso and in the head. There's none in the legs or arms and anything. Like they definitely need to meld it a bit better, I think, for sure. And then like his dreads and his hands had that kind of copperish look. On display they were very much like orange, so I don't know which one's going to be more accurate. The copper certainly looks a lot better, but it isn't accurate either, so it's very odd. Personally, I actually just did a repaint of this, and I'll be posting a video about it probably within the next coming week, but I did a custom of Crowbar where I took the Crowbar figure that was released and I repainted it to be more Darker the Moon accurate. And this one, although it is certainly more accurate, they got rid of a lot of the light grays and stuff. It's certainly not where it should be, because it should be a nice mix of black and silver mainly, and this one doesn't represent that very well. But if you're not able to do like your own custom or anything like that, then this is definitely going to be one for you if you're a big fan of the dreads from Dark of the Moon, and I certainly am, so I do like it. It's nice that they're doing it. I just wish that they did it right the first time, you know? And then here's his vehicle mode, which looks pretty good. And then here's Bumblebee, which I don't know if this has been shown before. I don't remember. There's so many Bumblebees, it's hard to keep track. This does look like a neat Bumblebee. This is kind of like the movie 1 Bumblebee before he turns into the new Camaro. He looks, pretty good, actually. I think the head sculpt looks really cool, and I like the torso. As far as the paint, though, it looks really nice, but I feel like a lot of that kind of silverish look here is going to be more of a flat gray in person. I do like the design of the car, though. I like how roughed up it is. I think that does look very cool. But there you go. That's my thoughts on these new Studio Series figures. Overall, some nice ones here. I like the World War II Bumblebee and Barricade the best. Those two I'm absolutely going to get, and then I'm considering Sideswipe. I'll probably skip that Bumblebee, and I'm definitely going to skip that Crankcase. But there you go. That's my thoughts on the new figures. Let me know what you guys think of them, and thanks so much for watching.